Hej hå! Hello! Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm on time this time. Okay, you are not so many people today. Wow. Let's move on anyway. We're gonna have a JavaScript day today. It's gonna be Node.js. So I guess it's gonna happen a lot of things during the next 3-4 hours. Any one of you who have sort of worked in Node.js before? Okay. One we can ask for help then. Let's just make a status check before we move on. We have some things to do today. Yeah, I just want to check the recommended study plan. Yeah, we can do that. Let's do that. Where is it, by the way? Where do I have that one? Just for some sane status check on where we are. So let's see, we had some planning. And recommended study plan. Whoops. Okay. We are somewhere here. So if you are sort of good students, according to Michael here, you are working with assignment 1 and assignment 2. Hopefully you have done them. And you have started working with assignment 3. So that would be the recommended way. 1 and 2 done. Your report page updated. Hopefully you are currently working with assignment 3, coding JavaScript on the client. And my standard recommendation would be to start with assignment 4 latest today then, just to be in shape. So we would be like there then. Okay? Because next week it will happen a lot of things too. So it's we'll do PHP and databases on Monday. And on Friday we review some frameworks and we start with C#. So you will be introduced to a few new techniques for some of you at least. So it's better to be prepared and in line. That would be Michael's standard recommendation. Maybe I should ask how you feel this far. Maybe not. I hope you're doing okay. I think this is a course with a lot of technical stuff, because you will go through a lot of coding languages and lab environments, and you're going to install them, and you're going to set up them and get into them, and we won't have time to learn the core of JavaScript programming language or the core of PHP, C#, .NET. It's a lot of techniques. So hopefully you are, with your previous studies, somehow prepared just to sort of navigate through all this. Try to see what is important and not. Try to see what you need to do to pass the assignments and perhaps sort of do it a bit better. Okay. Some questions about this cross-origin stuff from last Monday then. We're doing fetch, request, turned out nice, but you need to work on files. We talked about it last Monday, and we talked about it on the chat. So if you are on the chat, there was some update there. So I updated a program, the example program. I showed how it worked towards another REST API server that have this that allows course requests. So if you get the latest example program, you can try it against that server and you see how it works. So you can feel free to use that server for the assignment if you want to. So sometimes things happen on the chat, so it could be a good tool for you if you need assistance. So that on that, I sent you a message on Canvas showing you where you can find the slides and the videos that, oops, did I start? Yes, I started. Good. So where you find that, I put up some brief information about the project, more or less like we talked about last week, but I did put it up on the, where did I put it up? On both on, let's go there, let's go to Canvas. Let's see if I did put it up in the module. Hey. I added a project start. I just want you to set up your team, let me know what techniques you have chosen, and sort of, yeah, we're gonna aim for a grade of 3. So that is just to get going. So I put it up and let's see what I said on the assignment. I linked to the project specification, which is somehow intermediate, but it's there just to show you the structure of it. So 2, 3, or 4 members is the recommendation. You can choose from PHP, Node.js, .NET on the backend. Yeah, can you use some fancy framework? Yeah, well, ask and we'll agree on something. The project will be sort of here. I put up these requirements and we'll have this project sort of official start next Friday, and then this document will be done. But at least you know the structure of it. So do what you can for team up and discuss what kind of language you should use, and most likely the requirements will be something like do a web application, some static pages, some dynamic pages connecting to some kind of database, add some login stuff. So you can log in and sort of change something in the database. Let's have some fetch on it. So we do a client-side fetch updating the page. So something like that. And you will have the opportunity to sort of select your topic. So you can do this website on whatever you feel like it. But I put some general requirements that should sort of basically work on it. So, okay. Just to let you know, we're going to do slides on Node.js. Yes, I have a few slides. It's excellent if you already have installed Node.js and NPM. Otherwise, perhaps you do it while I talk about my slides. And hopefully before lunch, we'll end up being on the terminal. And I'll walk you through 2 example programs on Node.js on the sort of terminal, just to show you how different variations of asynchronous programming works in JavaScript, Node.js. Yeah, some small examples program to get you going with the basics. Then we have lunch. After lunch, I'll I'll code a web application server. Just walk you through the basic steps on how Node.js and Express sort of works together, make it up running, using some EJS template to write web pages, and so just set it together. This what I will do here, and this that I will do there is more or less the same thing that we will find in, where are we? Here. We will find this in our nice wiki, and we will find it here. Article about JavaScript and Node, and article about Node Express and EJS. Okay? Yeah. Then it's going to be a weekend. So let's start with, we are here then. Let's see what we have there. There we have something. The slides should be working right now. I pushed them. So let's just say a few words about Node.js. Roughly, overview. I have some agenda. Just want to talk about the programming paradigm we are heading into. Something about this callback, promise, async await, just to prepare you. Something about modules. Yeah, a short note on how to connect to MySQL, but yeah, depends on. Let's see. This is what we talked about Monday. This was pure JavaScript. They say he wrote it in 10 days. That is the story, at least. So it was a very quick programming language developed. So 10 days. Looks nice. We have it standardized. I talked about Monday. We did this JavaScript 5.1 version. So a bit older, but it's working in all the browsers. Then I said something about it was a major shift until when they introduced the 6th version. And it's more or less ES6 works in most of the browsers now, so it's a good baseline to work with. I said it's generally releasing a new version each year now. I would say that ES8 was the last sort of major version introducing a lot of nice stuff to JavaScript, but we are up to ES10 now, or as they also say, ES 2019. And the reference manual for this could be used on MDN. So there is pure JavaScript. So then we move on to Node.js. So open source, cross-platform. It was 2009. So, and again, as it usually is with some of these techniques, it's one person behind it, sort of pushing the button to make it all happen. So here's Ryan. JavaScript was popular. It was on the server. You could do JavaScript on the server before this, but it was not that popular. So when he did it, maybe the time was right. And right after that, one driving force that it actually sort of took off also, it was that we got this NPM package library where we could host our JavaScript code, share it to other, easy to in infrastructure to sort of share, get JavaScript code, libraries, programs. There were at least different engines for this kind of Node.js, but he uses the Google V8 JavaScript engine, and so he took it from the browser, and he added some kind of sort of event loop it's a main loop. He didn't have a browser now, so he needed some other type of main loop to make the program work. So we added an event loop, and he added a API for input and output to the file system, or the sort of the host where he is, where we're running the program. So basically, the browser engine, add event loop, add some basic I/O API so we can work with the sort of world environment around us. Yes, and they have their own website for the reference manual. So when we want to know what is in Node.js, we go to Node.js reference documentation. So if we are going to talk about the programming paradigm, that will be sort of, you had Java, right? So maybe some of you have Java as your main language. So what will be the main difference when we come into the Node.js world would be that it is a lot of asynchronous programming happen. And we are using callbacks for those. It's basically, we could compare it, it is event-driven. It's a lot of event-driven programming that we will do. So it's a bit like we did in the JavaScript client side. We have callbacks. They will be called when an event happens. So that is the sort of foundation. What we have here is also something called it's blocking I/O. So when we are doing some function call on Node.js, maybe read from a file or read from a stream on the internet, retrieve an URL on the internet to get a JSON from a REST API. So when we do all these things, it's I/O, so it's input-output. And that takes usually a bit more time than just executing code. So all these I/O operations is blocking. So when I do such a operation, the code sort of blocks there. And it leaves control back to a sort of main loop. So this main event loop, which is providing sort of, well, so this request was blocked because of I/O. Okay, let's see if anything other on this program can work. So I give it control to there. And then that part will move on and execute until it's blocked. Control back to the event loop, who then finds another part of the program that can run. So we'll see if some example programs on how this works. Let's see if that sort of makes it fit into our heads. So when we have all these blocking stuff, like this is a built-in function for getting something from the terminal. So this is I/O. And if I want to do it, this is like cin, get me some input from the terminal. So it will put out that string, and when the user sort of feeds in something and press enter, when enter is pressed, this callback will be called. It's a bit like we did last time with the click events on Monday, JavaScript client side. So the callback is handled. The sort of text the user wrote in is sent to the callback through an argument, and then we can do whatever we would like to do with it. So this is a basic setup for the callbacks, and a callback could look like this, standard way to set it up, or it could look like this when we see it as an arrow function instead. Same. So in the beginning there was a lot of callbacks, and when you are trying to synchronize a program that is only built up of callbacks. You want to do things in a sequence. You turn out to, they call it a callback hell. You get a callback, and within that callback you do another callback, and within that callback you do another callback. So if you want these three things to happen in sequence, then you have to do a callback and a callback and a callback. So it's sort of the coding tree, you tab it into more and more. So woo. So it's wasn't too nice to look at this. It works, but they wanted to have a nicer way of programming style in JavaScript. So that's why they did a lot of work on this asynchronous way of coding for our programmers. From ES.6, ES.7, ES.8, I think, is the sort of major shifts in how we can use this. So it's some years back. One thing they introduced was something, it's called a promise. So it was another way of dealing with callback functions. So it is sort of a promise that an asynchronous operation will return eventually. And when it does, I can deal with this promise coming back. So it has some sort of pending, fulfilled, reacted. It has different states. So depending on the state when it returns, I know how to deal with it. So if this is some, let's call this boilerplate code. This is a general setup that we could see in the manual. So the things I marked here is it's a read file operation. So it will be blocked. So it's asynchronous. I need a callback to it when it has read the file. The callback would be sort of called. But the thing is here that I'm wrapping all that into a sort of promise. I return a promise. So I sort of put a layer on top of this ordinary callback function. So add a promise on top of it. And when I do that, I sort of get another file that will now return a promise. And when it does that, I can use it in another way. So work a bit more nice with it. So this should be perhaps ES8. Well, you check up in the manual if I'm wrong, but I think ES8 was when async await was introduced. So when we have a function that sort of returns a promise, we can use async and await to work with that. And it sort of hides all this promise and callback issues and gives us a sort of a nicer way to read the programs. It is still sort of the power of asynchronous operations, but it's easier to read, easier to write. So I tend to like it. And so if we had that read file that was sort of hidden behind the promise and the callback, I can use this in my code now. I can have, oops, I read the file, I said wait until it's done, and then return the value into string, and I can put it out. So I get a sort of it looks synchronously. It looks like the things happens in order, but I still have this asynchronous power behind it. So you need you need somehow to be aware that Node.js, when we're reading the manual, stuff is built up by callback. And that was the sort of beginning. And then they added promises, and then you could do async await. So when you Google stuff, all these three different ways of coding might turn up. So if you really want to have control of it, so there are some readings to do then. I think that the the things we are going to do in the assignment for will not contain anything of this, most likely. So it's a pretty much straightforward assignment, hopefully, that will avoid these stuff. But if you are going to do like that, your project in this, then you might sort of dig into it a bit more. So it is this, a lot of like say, Jesus, a lot of the code out there and the external libraries that we can use, they are usually built with the callback, the way they are coded by callbacks. So the API, this is how you use callback. So it's the lesser denominator that is equal for all. Everybody can use it. And then, to make it easier, they add some kind of lib on top of it. So they add promises above. So they usually add another library and put it on top, and then makes it easier for us to do async and await. You can do that doing some kind of built-in stuff in Node.js, internal libraries, or if we would do sort of MySQL, connect to a database from Node.js, we would install the MySQL wrapper to communicate to it, but to make it easier, we would also promisify that whole library by installing promise MySQL. So we install two things, and then we can use async, await, and get what I would say some easier code to understand to start with. Yes. The assignment does not include that we are going to sort of connect to a database, but I still wanted to mention it if you want to do sort of Node.js for the project and you opt to connect to a MySQL server, then you will do this. You will most likely install MySQL, you will install promise MySQL, and then you can use async await. We're going to see a, let's see the clock. Oh. We're going to see a code example showing how you can organize your code in files, functions, classes, modules, how you do sort of separate your code into different files and how you sort of import them into your main file, main program. And there are, if you would Google JavaScript modules and hope for a nice answer, you will get a lot of answers. Because JavaScript modules, we have different ways of doing it on the client side. So client side is a whole set of requirements. How should I work with JavaScript and JavaScript modules? How should I organize my code on client side? And how should I do it on the server side? There is some standard way of doing it. It's called AJS6 import, where you could just, well, import a module from somewhere and get it into it. It has, I would say it has limited support. It has not taken off that much as you could hope to expect. So I will show you how to use require instead, and that is built into Node.js. So it's already there, and we will require modules to be able to sort of separate our code in various sort of code constructs, classes, functions, modules. And that's what our example program's all about. And that's where we are heading now. Let's just have a status check. 10:45. Yep, let's go. So have you installed Node.js? Yeah, let's say you have all done that. If you haven't, move on to try and do it while you're still listening to me. I'll walk into this. It is about JavaScript and Node, but I'll go just straight to the example programs. And I would like to do perhaps a bit like this. And let's have the this one. Let's get the example programs. What are we talking? We're talking about Node.js. And we have 3 programs here. We're going to go through all these: async, await, express, JavaScript. So we're going to review them today. And I'll start with this one. So let's see what we have here. Wow. This seems to be JavaScript code. Should we start with this one? Okay, yeah, let's do that. So here we do. Let's go up there. Let's go to JavaScript. There we go. Yeah, it's okay. So I have installed my Node. And I use it from the terminal then. I guess you can use, if I was a Windows person, you could almost use this from any terminal, I would more or less say. But PowerShell, command, yeah, should work. You will most likely get a 12 version because that is the latest stable release. And the latest development release would be the 13 version. And next stable release will be the 14th version. So I have a last year version here. I also have NPM, the package manager, and it's there. It's a version also. Like this, some of these interpreting I can do commands on like just opening the interpreter in the interactive mode, so I can write code here. I did do this Monday. Yeah, a tiny bit. So I find it very useful when you're going to sort of try out small code constructs just to see. I want to learn we did like this. A equals moped. I guess we did like something like this. Yeah, it's a string. So I can even do, maybe I did like this also. For let I be 1 while I is less than how much? 10. I plus plus. Let's see that. Nothing happened. Okay, yeah. So console.log and add print the I. Yes, something like this. Yeah. So I can play around here. I could also, if I for some reason had a larger program like I have there, so I do a copy of all that and just clear the screen and paste it into here. So I could actually I have a large program, but I only want to try out this small part for debugging purpose, or is it actually working? So I'm extracting it and running it there. But I already have it in a file, so I could execute that file directly. Let's see, I have a lot of files here. So I have node interpreter, I do it like this, or like this. It will work either way, and the whole program sort of is executed. It's very useful when you're going to sort of try or run separate programs, separate files, just to check that they are working. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a lot of files. Let's see what we should look on next. So this looks a bit like a scripting language. Okay, yeah, whatever. Might be like that. So we have, let's see what the hello program provides to us. It's also a program. It's, let's see if that could be run. It says more or less the same thing, log something, do a loop, create some variables, print them out, main, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2. Okay, so I move on to the terminal, and I will node.hello. Yeah, so it is the same, but I put it in a structure that seems to be a bit more sort of adequate when you're actually a programmer. So I did this main function. I called it there. So it's creating the function with the main name main. It's adding to the global scope, and then I'm just calling it. Nothing too hard. Let's see what I am quite uncertain what actually happened between these programs, but it still looks a bit better, I would say. Let's see if I can split these. Maybe I can. Oops. Split right. So I have this. This is the first one. Then let's move on to the other one. So yeah. So what is the, not too much happening, but yeah, it's a nice, let's put up the variable declarations on top. It's looks better, since all these variables will be visible through the whole function scope. And this function here, I am doing let I, yeah. But that is okay, since that should only be visible in this for loops sort of scope. So I can do it later on here also. So let's see if we print out more or less the same thing with hello.1, I think it was. Yeah, a bit more. What did it actually do? Yeah. We also sort of restructure the program, so we do all the calculations in sort of the body, and then we print them out sort of afterwards. So yeah, we could do that. Let's see what happens when we turn to hello 2. More or less the same program. I just add this use strict to sort of ensure that the program is running in a bit more strict mode. We talked a bit about this on Monday on the client side. Okay. So still just the main program. Let's see what we can do more. We have a string range. Perhaps we should look on this string range instead. Okay. So we don't have a main program here, but doesn't matter. We have a function and we have code, and obviously we're going to call that function below here twice. String range 1, string range 2 call. It seems that this function should return the range between A and B. as a string separated by comma sign. So we have built a function for that. So we're taking in the first as an integer, recommended integer. You wouldn't know. B, another integer, and then we have a separator that has the default value of a comma. Okay, I should have a result set. It's empty by now. I loop from the start of A until B. I just do string concatenation with the number and the separator. And I return a substring. Why? Yeah, I want to remove the end of the separator, so I return everything until the last sign there. Okay, so we'll get 2 lines of 1 to 10 separated with a comma, and we get another line of 1 to 10 separated by a minus sign. So let's see if that works. Here we go. Node, string, range. Here. Okay. So 2 strings. And we got the opportunity just to see how we can create sort of a function taking arguments. Shouldn't be too different from the things we sort of are acquainted to from other programming languages. And we call it at the bottom there. Okay? Good. But you know, our program sort of our programs grow. So more code, more files. So let's see, how could we divide this sort of code structure into a main program? Because it feels good to have a main program. And additional modules somehow. So let's use this string range in its own separate module and create the main program that imports it. So sort of prepare to write the code in a better manner. Okay, how should we do that? Yep, let's see. Perhaps if this feels a bit like the main program. So where do we think we have it? I think it's here in the import. So let's see. And so this is now my main program. It's located in a file. I don't need to wrap it in the main function, because I sort of, in my head, I could sort of label it main or index perhaps. Index is a proper name to name it in this world. For this example, there's no need at all to wrap it in a main program. So in a main function. So no need. We can just put it down here. So this is our main program now. So use strict. And here is the actual import. I said we're using require with this Node.js built in how to deal with modules. Work very nicely. So I require the file. And I have an updated file here now. So we should see what have changed with that. And what the thing that is exported from that file is put into this utils variable. So what that file exports is put into this variable. Okay, yeah, I'm all with you. So obviously this utils will contain a function called string range. And this is how I call it. And this is how I call it again. And if we need, so let's see if we should, well, if we should take to compare this here, well, that was what we did in the other file. So this is more or less, well, oops, you won't see that. So So that is how we did it last time. Now we do it like this. And this could be nice to know, that what is in this utils library, or, well, so utils is just a sort of variable containing whatever is required from that file. So we can print it out just to sort of inspect with our own eyes what is in it. So let's see if this program actually works. Should give the same output as import it was. Yes, most likely. Yes, it's the same output there, so it works. And we're sort of putting out this utils environment, and it's saying that it is an object, and it's containing a property called string range, and that property is a function which is also labeled string range. But it's actually this property that we are calling when we are writing this code here. So we are calling the property string range of the utils object. So, okay, let's see how this string range.1 works. And then we have the basic idea on how to deal with modules on a Node.js based level done. We could do this on the client side also, but it's a tad different, since a bit different, but maybe. So let's see. Okay, let me just scroll down here. Yeah, it's now it's a module. So I sort of remove these two last things that are actually executing something. But they still might come in handy, because if I show them there again, I think I will most likely be able to run this as a separate, even if it doesn't have a sort of a main program. But I can still run it and test it, sort of only module stuff. I think that is quite useful when you are working with this code and it's just getting larger and larger. So knowing that we can actually sort of have a small minor test program just by writing code at the end of it. So let's remove that, and now it's a module. Nothing should happen. So the most important stuff, it's the same function. It's this. So this is what is exported from this module. So in the main file, they're doing require, loading this file, and when it's loading this file and parsing it, it sort of looks for this. What does this module export? So it will look for this variable export, and I have opted now to export. I can export any type of data structure here. I can export, like I do now, an object. I could export a single function. I could export a class. So here is the property name. I can change this to whatever I want to. S range. Really doesn't matter. I can think of any name. This, however, is important because this is a reference to the function I have just created down here. So it's a key value. So if I'm going to do like this, sort of change it, I also need to go to my import. I'm still importing it like this, but now I changed the name for some strange reason to srange. And yeah, let's just see that it might actually work. Work like this. So what do we have? We have node import, right? Yes, it works. And what would happen if we sort of label it wrongly? I assume we would get some nice error message saying, yeah, nice error message, because it's actually pinpointing exactly that thing. And it is not a function. So, not a function. And we really need to be sort of educate ourselves in reading this kind of error messages, because they are usually pinpointing exactly the stuff that is wrong. They are. And they are also, in most of the times, providing an exact position where it sort of failed. So this is the best source to solve your problems. Review the let's remove this so it looks a bit like it was before. Okay, oops, there, and string range should now export it as the same name. Okay. And there we go. You know what? You will only... Is it okay with 10 minutes? 10 minutes pause. So let's start like... or we can start 20 past. 20 past. Okay. Let's start 20 past. So, pause for now. 12, 13 minutes. Yes.